everybody. Welcome back. I am so excited for y'all to be back with Panther City Partners for this episode of the podcast. I'm Leann Findley Maxwell with Panther City Partners. I'm a professional personal development coach. I work with people going through life's transitions to help them with their resiliency, to help them find the resources that they need. I always say that the only constant is change, but you don't have to go it alone. And I'm so excited to have back this episode Erynn Reed and Tauriah Stubblefield. Thank you so much, ladies, for returning.
Thank you for having us again.
So last time when we talked, we spoke a lot about your transition into undergraduates, college. But as we discussed, y'all are actually both in graduate school and you're about to graduate from UTA with a master's in social work. So congratulations to both of you. That's a huge accomplishment. And so I wanted to talk maybe a little bit about the transition from undergrad to grad school and what that looked like for you. Who wants to start?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, Erynn.
I'm sorry.
Let's go, Erynn.
So I feel like the transition from undergrad to grad school was much smoother in some aspects. Definitely education-wise, TCU prepared us.
Oh, good.
They had us do a lot, but they really prepared us.
That's awesome.
And so I was grateful for that. Like, even though I was kind of like, oh, why are we doing all this? Like, I don't want to do this. This is so much. It's so extra. It was good to have the extra because it actually helped.
That's really good. I'm sure that anyone from TCU will be super excited to hear that.
Yes, all that work.
Right. It was a lot of work. And then some of the difficult things was getting used to going from a private institution to a public institution in which it's not like at TCU, it would be like, oh, do you need something? Here you go.
Right.
And then at UTA, it's kind of like, oh, do you need something? You need to go over there or like move this way.
So maybe the customer service is a little bit different, maybe because they have so many more students.
Exactly. Yeah. No, not bashing or
No.
anything.
Yeah, I know.
It was like, it's just different. Yeah. Even like when you're going into different rooms and like, you know, there's a front desk or like in UTA, you have to take a number to go talk to somebody else. And then it was just like, oh, okay. It was just something like a new experience. And so just getting used to that new experience.
And navigating a different institution.
Yes, a new campus and everything, trying to find campuses, trying to find different rooms and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That is an interesting thing that I wouldn't have thought about. Just like navigating just the location is even different. What about you, Tauriah? What would you say is this something that you noticed about the transition?
That what Erynn said really just made me think too, because at TCU we were like our little friend group. We were really close to the receptionist in the social work building. Like we went to see her when she retired and everything a couple weeks ago. But then at UTA, you're like, so what do I have to do? They're like, oh, you have to figure it out. Like you could ask for some help, but at TCU it was really like laid out. Like, this is what you're going to do. This is what the deadline is. This is how you're going to graduate. This is what you have to do to graduate. And at UTA, it's like, oh, you know, you just have to finish this stuff. And you
see you later when you do it.
Yeah, you just do it when you do it. Get these core classes, and then you're good. So trying to figure out that stuff by ourselves, I think, was challenging.
Yeah.
But it was also good just to get a different experience. Like she said, TCU like over prepared us for the master's program. So when like in some of my classes, I'm like, oh, this stuff like
it's not that bad.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
Good.
It kind of gave us this head start for that independence that we were going to have, like more independence when in grad school.
Right.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that in education. It's like scaffolding. So you show students how to do it, and then you do it with them. You show them how to do it. You do it with them, and then they do it for themselves. It kind of sounds like that's what this was. It's like high school was your teacher showing you how to do things, and college TCU was like them doing it with you, and then now you're at UTA, and it's like, okay, you know how to do it.
Exactly.
Do it.
It's like, oh, we're supposed to know how to do it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's been a good experience in which not having any troubles of like falling through the cracks or something and missing something because of TCU preparing us.
Right.
Yeah. Like some other classmates, like, oh, I didn't know we had to. Like someone today, I didn't know we had to take the jurisprudence exam, and I'm like, oh, I already took that. We had to take that.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So then y'all both are getting your master's in social work. And I know you mentioned this when we were chatting before about the stigma of social work. So talk to me a little bit about that and how you have overcome that, or how you've had to maybe educate people about the opportunities that there are in the field of social work.
Yeah. So definitely when I changed my major in undergrad to social work, there's a lot of people when I tell them, oh, I'm mastering in getting my undergrad in social work, they're like, oh, what are you going to do with that? And I'm like, I'm learning still about what I'm doing and everything. But I mean, I'm going to, I'm going to persevere and I'm going to find something. Like, it's not, I'm just going to be stagnant. And then it was, oh, well, you better marry rich. And I'm like, okay, I can still build my own way of what I do. Like, I want to open up my own practice. That makes more money than some of the other things. So it's just like, how do you roll with it? What do you do with it? So yeah.
So you've been having to educate people a lot about what you can actually do with this degree.
Exactly. That it's not just CPS or
kids.
Foster care, or taking kids. Like, no, we want to maintain the family. We want to help these families and teach them things that they may not know about parenting or emotions and mental health.
So really, it's more of a mental health profession. It's not just a legal profession of figuring out if kids should be with these families. Where should we put them? Which I think is what a lot of people assume, that, like you just said, that it's a CPS job and you're just taking kids away from their families. But what you're talking about is really trying to maintain that, keeping that family intact and providing them with strategies and tools and resources so that they can create a better situation for the whole family and they can stay together.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think Eryn's speaking a lot on her. For social work, you can have the legal part, and she's doing children's and families concentration.
Yeah.
So she'll focus a lot more on that. That's what she's learning.
Right.
And then I'm doing mental health and substance abuse. So I really see a lot of that side in social work. And I know when I switched, I got the same thing. Like, oh, you're going to be a social worker? Like, what you going to do? CPS? And I'm like, no, CPS is not the only job that social workers do. So I had to educate others as well, but then also I had to educate myself because, like I said before, I wanted to be a vet.
Right.
So when I went into social work, I didn't have a list of all the things a social worker can do because I knew what a veterinarian was supposed to do.
Yeah. You've been doing that since second grade.
Since second grade, like I said. So I was like, oh, I found out how involved social workers are in the criminal justice system or the police stations, helping people there, or even that they have social workers at some veterinary clinics to help the clients when they have to put an animal down.
Wow.
Like someone was interning.
Support.
Yeah, someone was interning there this semester, and I'm like, well, how are you interning at a vet clinic? And then he told me how, and I was like, I would have never thought about that.
Me either. That is so cool to think about.
And a lot of people don't know. Like social workers are everywhere, and sometimes they just have different names.
Yeah,
like
different
at our
titles.
Internship, where I'm not a social worker, I'm a therapist.
Okay.
But everyone has their master's, their LMSW, or you're a counselor, but you have your social work degree. They just have a different name, but you're still a social worker too.
That is an interesting way to think about it, is that title social worker is not necessarily what your title,
your job title is.
But those skills that you gain as a social worker through college and graduate school are going to help you with whatever your title is.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's why I say I feel like everyone should take like at least 2 or 3 social work classes.
Yes.
HIPSI for sure. HIPSI was my favorite.
Yeah.
Well, say it what it is. Human behavior in a social environment.
Yeah.
Human behavior in a social environment. Oh,
1
that
and
is a
2.
good
Well,
class.
1 was really the best. Yeah, that was great because I always felt like social work wasn't really too challenging for me because I feel like I was being taught what I already knew.
Right.
I was basically just putting a name to something. So like I was always the counselor in my family or my friend group. I always, I'm like, oh, you're upset. Let's talk about it.
Or like the mom of the group.
I really am. Or if we're arguing at home or something, I'm like, you know what? I think we need an intervention. And they're like, oh, here Tauriah comes, want to talk about feelings. So then when I was in social work, I'm like, this is what I try to do all the time. Or learning about developments. Like I basically lived in a daycare and I saw children at different ages and I'm like
stages, Piaget's development,
or Erickson or something, and I'm like, I knew this, I just didn't really
you didn't have the vocabulary for it, but you knew what you were,
or what the you were skills doing, like active listening and things like that. Like I love
motivational interview and everything, trying to do that.
Right.
Or interventions, like the way that you would interact with one, like a friend, the way I talk to Erynn, I wouldn't talk to my other friend because they, like, you can't, what is it? You can't do it as a cookie cutter technique with everyone.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, they just think you're working on taking kids. Really, everyone thinks that's about social work, but that's not what
unfortunate.
it is. But you really learn about yourself and like your
biases.
Your background, values. How you were raised, and your comparing
looking at your family.
Yeah, it was really educational because now I'm just like, everything I'm learning, I can connect it to something in my life or a family or a friend or just something. And I'm like, that was my learning experience. Now I just got the name to it.
Right. Yeah. Right. That's so cool because as an academic coach that I've done that for a while, that's what I'm always trying to tell students is if you can figure out a way to make this material have a connection to your own life, then you're going to understand it way better because just like you said, you're just giving names and vocabulary to the experiences that you've already had instead of having to learn all this new vocabulary and create all these new experiences around that vocabulary. So that's cool that y'all were able to see that connection so early on.
Yeah, like how teachers say you don't really want to just memorize the material. You want to be able to explain it. So I feel like I'm really able to do that. Like in my internship now, I'm at a Springwood Behavioral Health Hospital, and then I work at a group home for kids with behavioral health issues. So and then I'm taking mental health classes. Right. So everything I learned in class, I see at the internship, and then I can take it back to my job. And then just see it full circle, like, oh, okay, I didn't really understand what my teacher was saying in class, but now I see this person who has this disorder or they're showing these symptoms, and I'm like, oh.
And this is how I help them.
Yeah, and then you can really see, like, oh, we just learned about an intervention that we should use. I'm going to try it with this patient. Yeah, like I can literally use what I learned the day before the next day.
That is really cool. So you're saying that you have an internship where you can do that with, so that's the school requirement for an internship, but then also you have a job in the related field, and so you're able to use it in all those different places.
Exactly.
That's great. That's great. And I know that at your summer job, you need to use those active listening skills.
Exactly. Yes, definitely.
Presence.
Working as stay in the present, being empathetic, understanding that they're going through a stressful situation and transitioning into college from high school and knowing that their schedule, oh my gosh, they're like, I don't,
Yeah, that's very cool. So as you think about what you're wanting to do, I know you talked about that you're wanting to be a licensed professional counselor. What are the next steps after you graduate from grad school? Because you can't just walk into that and you just don't like hang up a shingle and say, I'm a professional counselor. That's not how it works.
Yeah, no.
So what does that look like next for you, and how are you navigating that transition?
Yeah, so the next steps would definitely be getting my master's license first. So after graduation, taking that test and then doing the certain requirements to get my LCSW, which is licensed clinical social worker, in order, so doing those like a certain amount of hours that you have to do, a certain amount of supervision that you have to do, and just continuing doing that and getting more experience, and then taking that licensure test, and then and then it's a whole bunch more after that.
So I know last time we talked about you didn't want to you chose that veterinary school was not the right path because that was going to be so much more school.
Right.
But this is more school, but it sounds like you can see very clearly how it has a direct impact on what you want to be doing. And so it maybe doesn't feel quite as daunting or overwhelming as that long list of years and classes for veterinarian school felt.
Yeah, because the really cool thing is that at TCU, you get to, if you get your bachelor's in social work, then when you go for your master's, as long as it's accredited school, you only have to do a year.
Oh,
yeah. So it's only a year or a year in the summer. So most masters are like 2 years or 2 or 3. But this is only a year in the summer, and then you get to get your license. And then with the clinical license, you don't go to school. You just do your supervision. Yeah, you work and do supervision, and
so you're just going to be right out there in the field pretty soon.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And you're getting a lot of experience because like you said, you, Tauriah, have an internship, but you also, your current work experience is also still experience in that field.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even with the Aspire program too.
Yeah.
Working after school program with the kids and like probably like, were they like low economic status community as well. So we were able to use our social work skills there and
provide
like
resources.
A classroom setting.
Yeah.
That was good too.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is that you're getting all these experiences from lots of different places, from public or private high schools, and then your college experience was a private school, and that was a completely different experience from your graduate school, which is a public school experience, which they all have good and bad in both of them. But the main thing that you're getting is just experience with the different types of institutions and different types of people with your internships and your jobs. How do you think that that is going to help you ultimately with the path that you choose for social work?
Oh yeah, it's definitely going to help a lot. And in my undergrad, I actually worked in hospice, which was different from what I
I forgot about that.
Yeah, it happens sporadically, but I went from a middle school and then I transitioned and actually went to hospice. And so with working with that, it's totally different from what I wanted to do, from children to end of life. And so even going through that, I thought I was going to hate it. I thought I was scared, and I'm like, oh my gosh, death. And then after going through that, I was like, wow, I can actually take this and apply it to this. Like, everybody has to go through grief at some point, and knowing how to handle it and knowing how to help somebody through it. It was great. And so definitely those different internships and everything really help with then transitioning.
And something that you thought you wouldn't like at all, you wound up actually liking it, but then also seeing what you can learn from that situation.
And how I can use it to help children and families. And because everybody has that life cycle.
Yeah, she did well. We were all like, oh my gosh, hospice. And then Erynn was doing it. We were like, dang.
I'm the sensitive one of the group.
Yeah, she handled it well. We were just like, how's it going?
You know, this is making me think, I think I talked about this a little bit last time, of like, people think that college means just this one thing, but and that graduate school just means this one thing, that you're sitting in a class and you're learning and you're reading and you're discussing. But really, y'all have got much more hands-on experiences. So it's not just that you're sitting in a classroom learning all of this abstract material. Like you said, Tauriah, you're actually able to apply what you're learning in class the very next day in your internship or your job. And how awesome is that you can apply those things immediately? It's not like, you know, I saw this t-shirt the other day that said, still haven't used algebra a single time. You know what I mean? In high school, your teachers are like, you're going to use this every day. Right. It's like, no, I don't. But now, I'm sure people use algebra every day. I just know that
you just have to think about it a different way.
Right.
You probably want to use numbers, but like you're using like scenarios or something.
But y'all, it's really obvious that you are using your skills every single day. Every single day.
And it's really, like, I know at my job, my master's program and then the internship is really helping me build more professional relationships and just build up my professional resume as well. Because I remember speaking to my supervisors a couple weeks ago, and they were like, I was telling them how I was ready for a different change and where I was at. And they were like, yeah, we can see that you view this job through like a clinical mindset. Like, you come in here and you give these suggestions and you're making like how you're interacting with the kids and everything is like a clinical mindset. Like, we can tell you're using what you learned in school, which is really good because, like you said, some majors, you learn everything and then you have to go apply it. Right. But now we're able to really like
do it while we're like there.
Yeah. So it makes classes more interesting because you're learning like, oh yeah, let me pay attention to this topic because I have like a client at the internship who has this disorder or their family are going through a divorce or something, and I need to know what to help to say to them tomorrow.
Right.
So it's really
good. That's very cool. That's very cool. So one of the things that I've talked about before is that I work with people that are going and navigating through these transitions, different types of transitions. What do you think, from all of your experiences here, what do you think that you have learned the most about yourself in these transitions that you have gone through, from high school to college to graduate school to now thinking about what's after graduate school? What have you learned about yourself?
That's a good question.
Yeah, it is. I think for myself, I've learned that I strive to be independent at one point. You know, sometimes people want to, I mean, it's great to go back home after college and stay and save money.
Sure.
But I know I went and I was like, I want my own apartment. I still have, you know, I'm still dependent on my mom with helping with financial stuff. But I was like, I want my own apartment. I want to get out of the house. I want to start doing stuff on my own so that I don't stay there and want to just be cuddled up with my mom all day or something like that. Like, I want to make sure I get out. Because that's a safe
place, and it could be really easy to just go back there and you would be safe and it would be comfortable and you wouldn't have to put yourself out there anymore.
Right. So knowing that I wanted that for myself and learning that about myself.
Yeah. And if you hadn't had all those experiences that you had from all your schooling and all your jobs and internships, you may not have known that about yourself, and you could have just gone home and then been really frustrated, but not understand why you're so frustrated at home when it should be safe and it should be comfortable, and not really realize that that was the reason that you needed to go out on your own and figure this stuff out, knowing that there's still a safety net there. Yeah. What about you, Tauriah? What do you feel like you've learned about yourself in all these transitions that you've gone through?
I feel like I've learned, I'm still learning myself, but I'm figuring out like I am it's okay to be different than like who I thought I was. Because going from like the public, real diverse high school and then to the private school, which was different, and then back to a public school and like taking everything I learned back home or to my friendships or old friendships, I'm really seeing that like I am different than where I thought I would be. And it's kind of because of my experiences, which I'm real grateful about. Going to like a PWI has shaped me into a different person than like my siblings. For example, one of my brothers goes to HBCU.
Okay,
and he's here this summer.
So explain what those letters mean, because some of the people in our audience might
historically Black college or university. So he goes there, and we were talking like last week. Like, I wonder how would I have been if I would have went to that school, or would he have had the same experiences I had if he would have went to a predominantly White institution? Yeah. So I think that these experiences I didn't really pick. Like, I just went. You just went to that track meet and you were like, this looks pretty. Yeah, and I went to the school because I was like, well, they're paying for it, so I'm going to go here. But then it really shaped me, like, it's okay to be different. Like, especially the social work classes, it made me look inward, like, what I valued or how I was taught. And it's okay to, like, kind of branch out from the community that I was in before and make these new connections and, like, do different things. Right. Like, go to Billy Bob's or join gymnastics or something, or just do things that probably I wouldn't have done if I was still in that same setting. And now I look back and I'm like, all these experiences was like for a reason. So I'm really learning that I'm just changing every day, kind of. I feel like I'm really different than high school Tauriah.
You probably are.
Yeah.
And that's an okay place to be. Because, I mean, we are all constantly developing and changing. And it's awesome that you were able to take these new experiences, and even if they were uncomfortable or scary or overwhelming, find the good in them and take those good things for you. Yes. Leave the bad stuff behind, but take those good things and make them a part of you. And then that does change your perspective, and that does change who you are a little bit. I'm wondering how your family is dealing with that, because I mean that can be a hard thing when you go off to college and for me personally, I know it was difficult. I went off to college and I went to grad school and I got these new perspectives and these new experiences. And while I love my family and they're super supportive still to this day, there's been some friction sometimes because they think, well, that's different than the way that we thought she was going to be, or that's different than what we expected. What thoughts do y'all have on that idea?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I know I can say, like, when I say growing up before, like, I was always the one wanting to help in the family. Right. So, like, my family knew I was going to probably be, like, a counselor route or psychologist or something. But when I got into social work and I was really taking what I learned and then, like, talking about it with my family, like, oh, you know, the reason why my cousin or so is going through this is because their parenting style is, like, and they're like, okay, Tauriah. But really, I feel like it just is good. I feel like I like this experience because I'm able to teach my family, like, it's okay to go get help. Really. And in the minority community, a lot of people, they don't want to go seek out help because it's like showing that you're weak or you have a problem because you're going to go get help, or you feel like if you admit to this, you're kind of falling into that stereotype that the world already wants you to fall into, like that you have to go seek help anyway. But I feel like I'm able to teach my family and then my friends and community, like, it's okay. Like, there are great social workers who are, they really just want to go to school to help you. Right. And it's okay to seek help. Like, no one is going to judge or anything. So I feel like that was why I was like, went to the PWI and everything, because I needed to be the person in my family to, like, show that it's okay to go out there and try something new and then get help when you don't know. Right.
That's really awesome that you were able to take that back to your family, because that can be, in your community, that can be kind of scary to be like the first person that does that kind of thing, not knowing what they're going to expect or how they're going to react, but that you're taking this of like, no, this is important to me and we can do this.
Because if I go home and I see something, I'm like, you really should talk to a counselor. Yeah. Like, but I can't be your social worker because that's a conflict.
Right. Exactly.
Exactly. And you can't go to my friend because that's a relationship.
Exactly.
But really teaching them, like,
well, that those resources like are even available.
Yeah. And it's okay to go out and reach for them.
Yeah, and the coping skills and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely for me, my mom was an engineer.
Oh, okay. So that's completely different track.
Exactly. So she's math and science. So it was kind of like different for me when I was coming home talking about feelings and mental health. And she's like, okay.
Family tree
Right. Yeah. Active listening. And she's like, math? Like science? No. Okay. So yeah, it was different in that aspect. And then now even getting kind of like how Tauriah was talking about having well, you know how to fix this. What should I do? Or, what should we tell family blah, blah, blah to do? Right. And like, what should we do this and do? And it's like, I can help, but I don't want to feel like I'm the one, like, like you're putting all the problems onto me, right? When I'm going to.
I've got this new skill, but that doesn't mean I'm the only person.
And I haven't gone to the workforce yet. And I'm going to have everybody else's, stuff. And so I need to be able to separate that. So, yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's good. That does make me think about this, that the social work field can be really emotionally, there's a lot of emotional work involved in that as the social worker. And you really have to figure out how to be there for your clients, be there for your patients, but not take on all that emotion and all that stress and all that whatever they're dealing with. So what do you think are some of the ways that you have protected yourself or created those boundaries, or that you're still learning how to do that?
Yeah, that is hard.
Yeah.
Definitely being able to have like our friendship and having that outlet where you can talk to somebody about what's going on.
That really understands in the same
way.
You're
going through the same thing.
And being able to talk that through. And then as well, taking self-care days where you do go to the spa or you go swimming or
take a nap.
Yes, take a nap, definitely. Getting
a
pet, having a dog or a cat. Like
creating those self-care places or things that you can do. Yeah. But then depending on each other, that does seem like it. We've talked about this before, especially at the beginning of TCU, is the feeling isolated. And it could be really easy in the social work field if you're not talking to other social workers or other friends to feel isolated again. Yeah. But knowing that, hey, this is a really good coping mechanism for me to chat with somebody, and then I don't feel so alone.
Yeah. Or to know the person as well, because we can, like if we're texting or talking, we're like, oh, are you okay? Because like you're not really like you haven't talked about so and so like how you used to before. Like we need to have girls' day. It seems you're kind of stressed or something, so we need to go out, have fun, and like detox. So I know we're really well at doing that, because sometimes I'll talk and she'll be like, oh, how's you and your relationship? I haven't heard you talk about it. And I'm like, let me see. Or if I'm having problems at home or something, I'm like, oh yeah, I was trying to ignore it. But like we can tell kind of when
you're so close that you can see.
You're like, you
definitely
need self-care. And I need
we can
feel like a good way to deal with it's kind of like burnout as well. Burnout, you get that quick in social work.
Yeah.
I think you really have to have something else, like you said, a friendship, but you have to have something outside of the job. Because I feel like at my job, people get too connected into it. So then when you go home, it's just that you're still on the job. So like when I go home, I have my sister, or I can go talk to my boyfriend or go to Erynn's house or do something with my family. Like I can leave the job and leave the job.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really important to be able to do that. I know I always think sometimes it sounds wonderful to work at Trader Joe's, because at the end of the day, you just leave.
Yeah.
And all the work is still there and it'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
But in helping professions, it can be really hard to leave it all behind. So it's awesome that you're already thinking about that and already creating these spaces and these people that you can say, okay, when I'm with this person, I'm not talking about that because I need to have something separate. I need to be devoted to my job, but I don't need to be so enmeshed in my job that I can't separate myself from my job.
Or know who you can talk to. Like social work, we got it. We can ramble all day to each other about what's going on. And if you need to talk about something else, like you just
even within the friend group.
You have those outlets, like the people who are going to give you the funny advice or like the serious advice.
Exactly. Knowing who to go to. But it definitely takes a special person to be a social worker.
Yes.
And I think that's what gets overlooked. It's like, oh, you're not really doing surgery or anything. And it's like, but there's a lot of things that we have to listen to and like, and people are looking to us to have all the answers.
Right.
And we have to be able to be transparent and be like, we don't have all of the answers, but we're going to help you the best that we can.
Right.
And get you through it.
Yeah. It really is here's my problems, fix it. type field, and you're like taking in everyone's traumatic experiences, or like we have a friend who works in domestic violence shelter, and we're like, I don't know how you're taking in that
trauma.
So it really is hard. Like I say, social work is a superpower. It really is.
Yes. Well, y'all are superheroes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you so much for spending more time with us. Y'all, I feel like we've learned a lot about not just the coping mechanisms, but like using your partners and finding those people in your lives that can really help you, but that you can depend on through all of these different transitions. So it sounds like partnership has really been a big theme in y'all's relationship, but on also navigating all of these transitions. And then using those skills that you've learned and applying them not just to your jobs, but also being able to apply them to your own lives and your own families has been a really cool thing that y'all have been able to do. So thank you. Congratulations on graduating.
We're almost there.
I know.
I know. I'm so excited for y'all. Yes. I wish you all the best in all of your next endeavors. And I have a feeling we'll be seeing you back here on the podcast sometime in the near future.
Yes. Thank you.
So thank you again to my guests, Tauriah and Erynn. Thank you all for listening to all of us talk about our stories, stories from lots of different people in different professions and different places in their lives. Remember that you can reach out to me on Instagram at Panther City Partners. You can send me a message there. You can type something in the comments for more tips on life's transitions, but also to know more about the podcast. Remember, the only constant is change, but you don't have to go it alone. Thanks.